Okay, now in day 2 of Unit 9, we're going to be talking about the area of circles. And the formula for area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. And in your calculator, you want to make sure that you're only squaring the radius and not the pi part as well. So I'll show you what I mean by that when we do some examples. So down here, we're just going to plug and chug into our formula. So area equals pi times the radius squared. Now our radius is 4.2. So area equals pi times 4.2 squared. Now you don't need the parentheses there. It's just a habit of mine to write them. So in the calculator, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we do pi times 4.2 squared. That is how you get the correct answer. That is okay. Some people will want to do, all right, pi times 4.2 and then square that and get a completely different answer. No, we're going to only square the radius part. So this is how you want to type it into your calculator. So we get 55.42. So area equals 55.42 meters squared. All right, the second example, we're asked to find the diameter when we're given the area. Okay, so the area is pi times the radius squared. We know the area is 201. So 201 equals pi times the radius squared. So in order to get the radius by itself, we're going to divide both sides by pi. Now you might be thinking, why do we care about getting the radius? Well, if we get the radius, we can multiply that by 2 in order to get the diameter. And the only thing we have is this area. And the area is what we can use to get the diameter. The area can be used to find the radius, which gives us the diameter. All right, so let's type this into our calculator. I'm going to do 201. 201 divided by pi. So we get 63.98. 63.98 equals r squared. And then we can square root both sides. So the square root of 63.98 gives me 7.998. Well, that's going to round up to 8. So 8 is equal to the radius, which means the diameter is going to be 16 inches because the diameter is 2 times the radius. Okay, then example C, we're given the circumference is 18 pi, and then we're asked to find the area. Well, remember, circumference is 2 pi r. The circumference is 18 pi, so that equals 2 pi r. And we can divide both sides by 2 pi. The pi's will cancel, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So the radius is 9. Then we can plug that into the area formula for a circle. So area equals pi times the radius squared. So then in my calculator, I will type that in. And again, if you want to use 3.14 for pi, that's fine. So when I type that into the calculator, I get 254.4 254.47. So 254.47 inches, square inches, because we're talking about area. So it's very important that you look at what you are given and what you are then asked to find.
So let's look at some real-world applications here. So a square with the sides besides 12 centimeters long is inscribed around a circle. Find the area of the circle. And we kind of did something like this for circumference. So, like we said the other day, if that's 12, that means this is 12 and it goes to the center of the circle. So that means our diameter is 12. Well, if our diameter is 12, that means the radius is half of that, or 6. So now that we have the radius, we can do area equals pi times r squared and plug in 6 for r. That gives us area equals pi times 6 squared. Well, 6 squared is 36. So the area is 36 pi centimeters. And then we also need to get the estimated area. Our exact area is 36 pi. Our estimated one is going to be 113.1. I just typed in 36 times pi in the calculator. So area equals 113.1 centimeters. Now for number 9, it says a pizza is cut into 8 congruent pieces. The diameter of the pizza is 16 inches. Find the area of one piece. So the diameter is 16, which means the radius is half of that, or 8. So let's find the area of the whole pizza, and then we can divide that by 8 because we know each slice is the same area, the same amount. We have 8 congruent slices. So area equals pi times r squared. R is 8. So area equals pi times 8 squared, or area equals 64 pi. And then to get the area of one of these slices, we're going to do 64 pi and divide it by 8. And you may say, well, can we deal with the pi before or after? I want to deal with it after. And the reason I'm going to deal with it after is that I can take these two numbers and divide those and then put pi at the end. So 64 divided by 8 is 8. So we get 8 pi. So each one of these slices is 8 pi inches in area. And if we type that into the calculator, it's 25.13. And the 25.13 probably is more useful to us in real life because we don't just go around saying, oh, the area of this is 16 pi. That doesn't do much for us. But if we know the area is 25 inches, that's a little easier to see. So just make sure that you're labeling the information you're given and using the correct formula, and that will make it easier to really answer the question that you are asked.
All right, let's look at the next page. So the standard equation of a circle with the center at 0, 0 is going to be x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. That's our standard equation of a circle that is not shifted left or right, that the center is at the origin. Now, if the center is not at the origin, then the equation is going to look like this. So again, the center, that's at h comma k. So the opposite of what you see. And R is your radius. So let's look at some examples, and I think you will see that this is not too bad. So write the standard equation of a circle with the given information. So the center is at 0, 0. That means my h value is 0, and my k value is 0, and a radius of 6, so r is 6. So I'm going to plug that in to my equation up here. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 6 squared. X minus 0 is just x. So we get x squared plus y squared equals 6 squared is 36. And that is it. We don't do anything further. Now B, center is at negative 5, 2. So h is negative 5, k is positive 2, and r is also positive 2. So then we do x minus h. Well, it's going to be negative 5. So the x minus part comes from the formula, and then the minus 5 comes from the h value. So that's why we have a minus minus. And then when we have that minus minus, that changes to plus, so it's going to be x plus 5 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 4. So you don't always have to write out these steps. I'm just going to for the first couple so you can see how the h and k values are used. The center was at negative 5, so in my equation it was x plus 5. The y value was 2, so it was y minus 2. The first number always goes with x, the second number always goes with y, like an ordered pair. Now, letter C, our h value is 0, our k value is negative 3. The r value, though, they're telling us right here the diameter is 10. That means the radius must be half of that, or 5. So then that will give us x minus 0 squared plus y minus negative 3 squared equals 5 squared. So x squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 25. All right, so we were given that information up here originally, and we wrote the equation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a graph, and from the graph write the equation. So the first thing we need to do is find the center. There's the center of this circle. So your center is at 0, 0. The radius. Now instead of trying to go diagonally and count, let's count vertically or horizontally. Go 1, 2, 3. So your radius is 3. That's going to give us x squared plus y squared equals 3 squared, which is 9. We don't have to write minus 0 if we're centered at the origin. Like up here, you see we were centered at 0, 0, the origin, and we just had x squared plus y squared in our answer. All right, letter B, your center is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. So your center is 4, 3, and your radius is 1, 2. That will give us x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 2 squared, which is 4. And then the last one, our center is right there. So your center is 1 comma negative 1, and then your radius 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then the equation is going to be x minus 1 squared plus, this is going to be y minus negative 1, because we have a negative 1 right here. So it's going to be plus 1 squared equals 25, because 5 squared is 25. Okay, so whenever we want to write an equation of a circle, we need the center and we need the radius. And there's a lot of ways we can get those. Okay, today we're going to look at some more equations of circles and graph them, and then use equations to solve some application problems. So let's talk about graphing them first. So here's our first example, and notice there's no parentheses here, so that means your center is going to be at 0, 0. And then this number is your radius squared. So radius squared is 25, which means your radius is 5. Now again, you don't have to do this step every single time. I will, just so we can see what's going on. So the way I graph these is I start from the center, and I go 5 in each direction, horizontally and vertically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I make the best circle I can. So just try your best on that. Obviously don't make something like that. You're not even trying at that point. So that's all you got to do. Okay, so the center of this circle is going to be 2 comma negative 1. So the opposite of what you see here. So positive 2 comma 1. There's your center. Then this 16 is the radius squared. Take the square root of 16, you get 4. So then I'm going to go 4 in every direction. And that's how this circle will look. The center is at, again, 2 comma negative 1. Then example C, okay, there's no pluses or minuses or parentheses with the x, so this x coordinate of the center will be 0, comma, negative 2, because we see plus 2 in our parentheses. So there's our center. Now r squared is equal to 1. Well, the square root of 1 is just 1. So I go 1 in each direction, and then I do my little circle and try to do the best you can with that. Okay, so graphing them isn't too bad. Now here, we're going to use the given information to write the standard equation of the circle. Remember that the general form of an equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k are the center, and x and y are points on the graph, and r is your radius. Well, we need to figure out the radius here. We know that the center is at 0, 0, and we know that the point 0, 4 is on the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in these values. Since the center is 0, 0, I'm going to plug that in for h and k, and plug in 0, 4 for x and y, because then I can simplify that to figure out what the radius is. So it's going to be, instead of x, I'm going to write in 0 minus h, which is 0 squared, plus y is 4, minus k, which is 0, squared, equals r squared. So 0 minus 0 is 0, and then 4 minus 0 is 4, so 4 squared equals r squared. Now, yes, you can, you can simplify this and say like, okay, well, square root both sides, and we get 4 equals r. That's okay. Or you can just leave it in terms of r squared. This is probably a better idea. So I know my radius is 4. Now I have my radius, I have the center of a circle, so I can do what we did yesterday. So x squared plus y squared equals 4 squared, or 16. And that's the equation of the circle. It's kind of hard to see this actually when you are dealing with a center at 0, 0. So in letter B, we will see this probably easier. So again, the equation of a circle and we need to figure out what the radius is. Now, you could say, well, can't we just do the distance formula between the center and the point on the circle to get the radius? Yes, you can do that, but I know how much you guys despise the distance formula. So I come up with another way that will hopefully make things a little bit easier. So we need to plug in our values. X and y come from the point on the circle, and h and k are the centers of the circle. So now I can substitute my values. -1 minus 3 squared, because x is -1, h is 3, and we have a subtraction sign there, plus y is 2, minus -3 squared equals r squared. 1 minus 3 is -4 squared, plus 2 minus -3 is +5 squared equals r squared. -4 squared is 16, plus 25 equals r squared. So you may be saying in the other problem, why did I not make this 4 squared? The reason why I didn't do that was because I only had one number here. It was just 4. I didn't have anything from this part. That's why I said it might be easier to see when our center is not at 0, 0. So now 16 plus 25 is 41, and that equals r squared. Well, I'm not going to take the square root of this, because r squared is 41. That's what we need in our equation, is r squared. So now I'm going to write my equation, x minus h, so 3 squared, plus y minus k, again k is -3, so it's going to be plus 3 squared, equals, in r squared, we've calculated that to be 41. And that's your answer.